YouTubers, Mike Martins here, Mike Martins channel. Guys, thanks for joining me. It is I, Mike Martins. Guys, I got an important video. We've been covering money laundering here for about 5 years on the channel, and it's become a major issue. It's gotten so bad that it not only has it displaced the Canadian or Canadians living in Canada, it's displaced them, and it's displaced and disenfranchised probably 3 generations down the road. And I'm not making this up. You take a look for yourself and you be the judge. This is from Diane Francis, Canada's. This is from the Financial Post. Canada's embarrassing money laundering problem. Self-righteous Liberals have done more to enhance snow washing than any other government. Since 2015, the Liberals have done nothing to crack down on money laundering in this country, despite the international criticism from abroad and negative effects here at home. So what are the negative effects? The more foreign money you bring into a doesn't have to be foreign. It could be Canadian money that's been washed somewhere else, or it could be American dollars that are being brought in. The more money you bring into a system that doesn't have the support to kind of slosh it around and make it disappear, it becomes worse, it becomes bad, we're not layering, we're not integrated layering the money in. The money is just being thrown into the markets. How? Via housing, via shadow flipping, via shadow selling. Shadow selling is when 2 corporations owned by the same person flip a property back and forth into the millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars for a property. And that is a good washing technique, but Canada hasn't done nothing to protect its local citizens. Its local citizens built the infrastructure, built the highway streets, the Portuguese, the Italian, the Greeks, the Hungarians. They built a lot of infrastructure here across Canada. And yes, and now they're being basically shown the door. Now, the global term snow washing has been coined to describe how easily dirty money could be washed clean like snow. In Canadian real estate, Ottawa's intransigence in strange considering that international anti-corruption watchdogs have condemned Canada for this. Intransigencies. Sorry about that, guys. So anyways, this is right here. So this is a big watchdog looking down and saying, hey, what are you guys doing? This is like really crazy. Well, because 80% of our GDP is based on housing, we're not producing. All our GDP or whatever growth production of the country is housing, real estate. That's why during COVID, real estate was essential. Even though the people can't afford, the Canadian proper can't afford to buy their own real estate, they need to keep that going so foreign investors could buy that property and leave them empty. Most recently, the United Kingdom based Tax Justice Network 2020 report concluded that Canada has a long history in the development of tax havens, but it is becoming known as a destination for money laundering due to the weak rules over corporate transparency and beneficial ownership. The country's weaker anti-laundering laws provide criminals with the autonomy and not get caught, and likely not be prosecuted if they are caught. So a lot of people have been basically laundering money through Canada, and they're laughing at us because they're destroying our lives. So now, not only has it disenfranchised us, this local Canadians that are up there who could barely afford to eat, it's actually disenfranchising the next 2-3 generations. Again, the money wasn't laundered through integrated layering. It was actually just thrown in the market. Now, you know how long it's going to take for that money to dissipate? It's going to take anywhere from decades to maybe 50 to 100 years for it to actually stabilize. Yeah, that long, people. And that's why housing is going to find a way to keep going up, especially with 300,000 Canadians living in Hong Kong who've never been to Canada but have dual citizenship. Transparency International has ranked Canada at the bottom of the pack of all G20 countries due to its failure to meet the G20 anti-money laundering commitments. In 2016, Canada was the first outed as a laggard by the Financial Action Task Force and intergovernmental organization that evaluates compliance. So they're like almost like a royal commission, like auditors that kind of look at stuff. Was a serious problem. All high risks areas in Canada are covered by measures except legal counsels, legal firms, and Quebec notaries. This constitutes a significant loophole in Canada's framework. Canadian lawyers were let off the hook in 2015. Okay, 2015. I got something here for 2015, so we're going to connect the dots here. Supreme Court of Canada exempt lawyers from being subject to the Proceeds of Crime of Money Laundering and Terrorist Financing Act. The decision followed by arguments by the Federation of Law Societies of Canada, and the law violates solicitor-client privilege that the legal profession alone had the responsibility for policing itself. By contrast, in Britain and in Australia, lawyers must report suspicious clients' transactions to authorities. We'll get to that in a second. So let's connect the dots. So it started with this back in 2016. Canada wants more Chinese students and tourists, but it's been longer than since 2016. This is an article that was put there. Canada wants 500,000 Chinese per year. Now, this number doesn't get tacked on to our yearly immigration. So people go to StatsCan and show me the immigration that, oh, it's all from the Philippines and other countries. No, this is not added on there. This does not get added on as immigration. It's a different category that we don't know about in Canada. So they want to, opening more visa offices could help Canada compete for Chinese worker students in lucrative tourist business. They spend a lot of money. So what does that do to the locals? The locals just can't keep up. Now, if we go back to this article I've read 300 times, Canada would be in a recession without money laundering. Now, let's take a look at that. Now, the amount of money laundered is an underestimate. So what they have here is an underestimate. They shut down the money laundering. So over 200 billion money laundered across Canada over the last 5 years. So from 2011 to 2015, they estimate $200 billion. This excludes reinvestment, typical in the layering and integration process of money laundering. That means basically they don't open a piano store in a mall, pay their taxes, contribute to the infrastructure, pay employees, and then clean a little bit of money off the top every month and live a quiet, graceful life. But no, they just want to dump it in. So that's what's happened, and that's how much was laundered through the provinces. And again, world economy would collapse if the City of London stopped laundering money, says HSBC whistleblower. Britain is due to leave the European Union later this month, but there is no sign of banks quitting the City of London. One of the main claims made by remainers of the run-up of the Brexit referendum, but are the wheels of the City of London only kept turning by laundered money. Now, again, in London and surrounding, no one could afford to live there. The London proper, or the British proper, don't live in their own major cities because they can't afford it, and they have to commute 1 million hours a week just to get into work. Now, money laundering is a big business in Australia. Now, I covered this before on the channel. I estimated, this was about 2 years ago, that Australia is looking at about, from 2015 to 2020, anywhere from $350 billion to $500 billion laundered money, whether it's through casinos, or whether it's through shadow selling properties, or whether it's through just money being parked illegally in the country. And then we're going to connect to that in a second here. So Australia has its fair share of high-profile money laundering cases in recent years, and even the dubious honor of being listed as a major money laundering country by the U.S. So the U.S. now is after, or basically calling out Australia. Today, the Financial Security Index declared Australia is a nation that continues to host significant quantities of illicit funds from outside the country, and it needs to do more to counter money laundering and tax avoidance. So it's basically the middle class, the Australian proper, that's actually funding the infrastructure. It's the rich that are laughing at them, and laughing at them that they can't afford to buy in their own country. So there it is, big banks and big fines. So we're going to go to that in 1 second. Oh, Royal Commission, I mentioned that earlier. In the wake of the Banking Royal Commission, so they didn't really go that deep when it came into, I guess, auditing some of the big banks, or the big bank chief executives. They did find a lot of stuff, and a few people did resign from that, right? So here we go. Look at this. Westpac, one of Australia's largest banks to hit with record $920 million penalty over money laundering scandal. That's just what they found. They found 16 million faulty transactions with money laundering. So 16 million. Okay, let's look at this. Westpac, one of Australia's largest banks, has agreed to pay a record-breaking penalty of nearly $1 billion for systematically allowing money laundering on its watch. The company announced Thursday that it's agreed to the 1.3 billion Australian dollar, 920 million American fine to Austrac, the regulator in Australia that fights financial crime. Westpac also admitted as a part of the deal that it broke anti-money laundering and terrorism financial laws more than 23 million times. I'm very sorry. I thought it was 16 million times. I'm very sorry. It's actually 23 million times it broke that law. And let's say every time is let's say $1,000. That's a lot of money, right? So we're looking at a lot of money. So let's say it's $10,000 it laundered every time, which it wasn't, times 23 million times. So I'm guessing 300 billion to 500 billion dollars was laundered through Australia. So let's take a look. Let's just go back to the channel, guys, real quick. Thanks for watching if you're still watching now. Let me just go to my YouTube channel here real quick, guys. Let's look it up live right now. Here it is. The channel here, guys. I'm doing this to protect you guys. I'm doing this to wake up everybody. Subscribe. Don't forget to. So let's look up laundering. This needs to get out there so people understand why. World economy needs more money laundering. No one even saw that video. Money laundering by foreigners destroying housing affordability. That's from a year ago. Here we go. Westpac fines over money laundering breaches. That's a year ago. No one saw that video. Vancouver is a money laundering hotspot. No one saw that video. Canada's GDP needs more money laundering. No one saw that video. World economy would collapse if London stopped money laundering. No one saw that video. And housing crisis, no investigation of money laundering. And housing crisis Australia, money laundering. That's from 3 years ago. And I've been doing this for many, 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 many years. This is 63 billion laundered in Australia, and this is an opinion. My opinion has changed since then. So I kind of want to throw that out there to show you guys. I get a lot of people like snapping at me once in a while in the emails or on thing, telling me to stop copying other channels and their formats. I'm like, look, I don't have many subscribers here, and I've been doing this. It goes back for almost 8 years. So housing, whether it's housing, whether it's money laundering, whether it's new housing rules across the Commonwealth, interest-only mortgages, first-time home buyer loans. We've covered that all here. We have trends in the housing market. So people snapping at me and saying, stop copying other channels. Believe me, I'm not copying anybody. I've been doing this for a long time, and you guys know that. Subscribe, share, get this out there, guys. Let me know what you guys think. People don't understand the amount of damage this has done to the Canadian or the locals living in the countries that actually contributed, your grandparents and parents that built the infrastructure in this country, your parents and parents, grandparents that built and sacrificed to assemble these countries to what they are today, to basically lose them now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching.